Albanese is the UN Special Rapporteur on the occupied Palestinian territories. Joins us now live from Tunis. Good to have you with us. So first of all, Francesca, let me get your reaction to this announcement by the leaders of three countries, Canada, France, the UK, talking about how they are ready to take further action if Israel doesn't stop the military assault and if it doesn't allow aid in. A positive step?
Look, had this statement been made 1 year, 14 months ago, I would have welcomed it. It would have been yet 2 months too late. But now, 1 year and a half later, of course, this is the minimum bearable. Seriously, of course I welcome it. But I also agree with what the speaker was before me was saying. This is the result of the enormous pressure that ordinary citizens in the UK, in the Netherlands, in Germany, in France, everywhere, especially in the Western world, in the US, are putting onto power. And again, I'm afraid that these statements are not supported by actions, because until last evening, I read from reputable sources that the UK were flying over Gaza, possibly collecting intel for Israel, as they have reportedly been doing for months now from their military base in Cyprus. And yesterday, just yesterday, a flight from Cyprus has landed, a cargo flight has landed in Tel Aviv. So again, yes, words are fantastic, but at this point, we need action.
What action do you call on these countries to take, who are saying, at least, that they're ready to take action? What should they do?
What all the international human rights community has been saying, and what some leaders from the Global South, like South Africa, the members of the Hague Group, and recently Spain have said, and Spain is about to vote sanctions and full arms embargo on Israel. Again, this is late, Sami. This should have happened before. Had it happened, we would have prevented Gaza from turning into a meat grinder, because let's be honest, this is what Gaza is today. And it's so worrisome that these small words, targeted sanctions here and there, what does it mean? Targeting whom? You need to impose the sanctions on the states. It's not about the prime minister. This is the entire government enterprise supported by the army and frankly, there is a large components of the society as such, which are supporting this plan, while others, a small part, but shouldn't be invisibilized, of the Israeli society, has started to protest regularly against the genocide, up to going to the border. Yesterday, there were Israeli activists arrested, and they did the most meaningful thing, going to the to the crossings between Gaza and Israel. These are the crossings where the international community should be doing, not Rafah, which has been seen as by many as the gate to the next exodus of the Palestinians. Open the crossing between Israel and Gaza and let all the necessary aid in, and not through this, whatever it's called, this Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is one of the most appalling things I've seen in my entire career, bypassing an architecture that exists in the international community at the multilateral level to deliver aid under, of course, it's under the guidance of the United States and Israel. Since when a country which has committed international crime is allowed to reign against the self-determination of the people, which is just genociding? So you see, there is so much wrong that words of condemnation here and there right now are definitely not sufficient.
OK, you've been clear in calling for these three countries to take concrete steps like sanctions, some of the steps which the Global South leaders you mentioned have been calling for. What about the US? Can any measures taken by these countries be really effective without similar action from the US? What do you call on the US to do?
Look, I know that we, especially in the last 20 years, we have become incapacitated to imagine leading ourselves as human beings and as countries other than under the tutelage of the United States. But the premise must remain international law. We must be guided by universal values and universal norms, which today, when it comes to Palestine, the United States is not very keen to respect. Therefore,
right, but even Francesca, even if you're right, of course, international law should be applied, but everybody knows that the main backer for Israel's, particularly its military operations, is the US. Can it be effective without action from the US? And what should Arab countries do? Some of them have relations too with Israel.
What about the other 191?
Right. Well, you know, what should are Arab countries doing enough? We've just seen
of the international community. No, but this is where the people, Sami, we need to understand that this is really, it's a landslide moment. People from all over the world, millions of people, have been protesting against the very repression exerted by their own countries. Again, I repeat, in the UK, in France, in Germany, in my own country, Italy, people have been fired from their jobs. People have been arrested and detained for asking the end of a genocide, the end of crimes committed against women and children. So the people cannot stand this anymore. There are so many people, and increasingly so, who are putting things really in the line.
Right.
And this is, for me, this is the only ray of hope right now. Will the people be able to reorient politics? This is the question mark. I do believe that this is a moral obligation that all of us have to make sure that governments respect their legal obligations under international law.
Thank you so much, Francesca Albanese, United Nations Special Rapporteur